Hello there. How's it going?
How's your leg? Is it still
Yeah,
damaged?
my leg's
So
still like broken.
after 2 weeks of building up to recording this first video, Paul almost broke his leg just before we posted it. So that's definitely a wee bit of good luck there. So just wanted to, since this is our first episode, we just wanted to introduce ourselves. As we said, I'm Colin and Paul is Paul, and we're Seismic Cinema. Is that the first name, Paul, that we kind of came across?
It's probably about the millionth name we went through. Uh, I ran past about, I think I ran past every single example with my girlfriend, and even this one wasn't approved. So I think we just ended up going for it.
Yeah, we
Um,
spent 2 weeks. We just really wanted to get into recording the first video, and we spent nights just Googling different names and podcast name generators. But we finally came up with Seismic Cinema, and why that was your stroke of genius. Where did that come about from?
uh, Mainly because we're watching the Book
Uh,
of Boba Fett, which we're going to be reviewing very shortly, and
quick spoiler alert in there.
well, yeah, spoiler alert, and he uses a seismic charge in one of the episodes, and I thought, what's cooler than a seismic charge going off? And then seismic charge just came to me. So if there is any success comes from this name, then I fully take all credit.
Well, I think we can agree that the seismic charge is probably our favourite sound in the Star Wars universe, if not the real world as well.
I
You,
agree. I agree.
you okay there? So we're not. We want to make it clear that this podcast isn't just going to be a one-trick pony. We are really big Star Wars fans and have been for a long time, but we do want to look at a wide range of TV shows and films. We initially spoke about coming up with some kind of niche podcast, but we just kept coming back to movie and TV, and that's kind of where our passions lie. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like we've got quite a diverse knowledge of movies. I'm quite into like horrors, actions. You're more into comedies and rom-coms and chick flicks and stuff. So yeah, I think we've got quite a diverse background.
I'm actually more diverse than Paul seems to think. But we decided to start just because the Book of Boba Fett was obviously on right now, and we had this discussion a few weeks ago. So we're going to look at the first four episodes today, and then unless Spotify chucks us off for being absolute garbage, then we hope to review the last three episodes as well before moving on to something new. But we'll probably milk as much as we can from this bantha before we move on. Are you okay
Yeah.
there? You got
So
something in your throat. So just want to make it clear that this is a big spoiler warning ahead of the first four episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. So we were hoping to do a review last week, weren't we, Paul? What stopped us from reviewing episode three or chapter three?
our severe lack of planning, lack of name, lack of confidence,
Lack of energy.
lack of ideas, and just
Uh,
yeah, lack of
but
competence.
we're feeling on the ball this week, so I think we'll just get right into starting off with a general overview of the four episodes, and my obsession or joint obsession, I would say, with How I Met Your Mother makes me really want to salute right now because of the general overview.
You just had to slip Met Your Mother in there, didn't you?
I'm doing it right now. I'm saluting right now. You just can't see me, obviously, because this is a podcast. So first episode, just a brief what we can remember, obviously, because we're trying to review four at once. Starts off in the present day, would we say?
Yeah, yeah. It starts off in the present day, and then it's him getting tributes from all the different districts of Mos Espa. Is that right? Is that right? Is that right? What I'm saying? Um,
I hope you're right. Yeah, I would say
yeah.
it's most Espa, yeah, or
I'm literally
most
watching the first
Espa.
episode in front of me whilst we're doing this, and I've forgotten already. That's how
That's
amazing
right.
this podcast is going to go.
We'll ease into this. I'm feeling nice and relaxed. So there's the tributes are coming in, and there's the one, the mayor's major domo, we'll call them,
Yep.
demands a kind of tribute in reverse and is trying to get money from Boba Fett, who doesn't take too kindly to that.
Yeah, a bit of disrespect coming his way.
Yeah, and that is a recurring theme throughout the first 4 episodes. So then after that, again, we don't like to be scripted here at Seismic Cinema, so we go back in time. We do a bit of a flashback, and what's the recurring way that that's done?
Well, they keep using the same device through all the different episodes. So when Boba Fett is healing in the Bacta tanks, it always flashes back, and you're getting some quite wee smart flashbacks from like Camino, from his looks like unused footage from Attack of Clones. I think you said.
Well,
Which
Daniel
Daniel
Logan's he's a lot older than that now, so yeah, it definitely must be unused footage. And we also see him holding his father's helmet, and contrary to popular belief, it's not actually his father's head. Apparently, his head falls out the helmet, and so that just to put that.
Well, it is Disney.
So nobody's worrying about that. So we go back in time, and what's the kind of first thing that kind of happens there?
Well, he escapes the Sarlacc pit.
Was that just a moment you've been waiting on for a long time?
I always knew he wasn't dead. Had faith in my heart.
Yes,
but I think I'm not sure because I know there's like a lot of expanded universe stuff and all that, but I'm not really into that. I think we need to stress that as well, that I'm more of a casual mainstream movies, mainstream series, some video games kind of knowledge, whereas Colin is the resident expert between the two of us, at least anyway, when it comes to these things.
In the last couple of years, I have read quite a lot of the canon novels, but I'm not. There's still a lot more I could read and could know, but I think we've got a pretty good knowledge. So he escapes from the Sarlacc pit, and then he gets stripped by some Jawas who steal his armor.
Yep,
and then he's not having a great time. He gets a wee bit of sunburn, and then he gets dragged by the Bantha all the way out to the Tuscan Raider camp.
Yeah, so the Tuscan Raiders pretty much take him as a prisoner and to put him to work basically. And without going through all the details, he basically endears himself to the Tuscans by saving one of the younger Tuscans' lives from a desert creature. I'm not even sure what it's called.
It was pretty cool. I liked it.
It looks like it reminds me of something out of Mortal Kombat. You know that from like years ago. I can't even think what it is, but it reminds me of something like that.
And the wee traitor guy passed away in that scene. You got Boba kept trying to help. Was it a Rodian? I think it was a Rodian.
Never trust a Rodian.
But he wasn't for it, and then he got taken away. So that was the kind of end of the first episode in terms of the flashbacks. Back in the present day, Boba took a wee trip into the town.
Yeah, he takes his wee trip into the town, and he meets his first kind of stronghold, where he collects money from. I think it's at Garza's Sanctuary, they call it.
Yeah, the Sanctuary. Yeah, I quite like the Sanctuary.
Yeah, it looks like a quite interesting wee place. Quite a lot of creature design. Max Rebo's there from the Return of the Jedi movie as well.
Nice wee bit of fan service.
Yeah, there's a lot of fan service there.
And so he's in there. He gets his helmet cleaned. They like to clean people's helmets in there. Obviously, we should have mentioned that Fennec Shan's obviously Boba's right-hand person, and I think we'll talk about that later. You've got some views about the dynamic between those two. So Boba goes out into the street, and he gets cornered by a gang.
Yeah, not a gang, an assassination team.
Yeah, assassination team with some cool shields.
Cool shields and taser poles. I'm not even sure.
Yeah,
but they don't seem like very good assassins, because I feel like if they wanted to kill him, then they could use something other than tasers, like maybe something pointy and sharp.
maybe
But
they didn't intend to kill him, and maybe just wanted to give him a wee fright.
yeah, they maybe ended the series a bit too quick.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
Boba gets pretty badly hurt, actually, and rescued by people we've not mentioned, his trusty Gamorrean guards who've been making a bit of storm on the internet.
No, I've not even seen. I've not seen their storming it.
Um, people
But
are
yeah,
people are laughing at their costumes a wee bit, and they've been referred to in a lot of YouTube channels as pigs, just constantly called pigs. Boba and his pigs.
I like them. I like them. I like the callback to the movies. Although these Gamorrean guards are a bit leaner than the ones that were in the
Yeah.
movies back then.
So
They've
Fennec
they've been hitting the
chases
gym.
some of the assassins, and there's a good wee kind of parkour scene on the rooftops.
Yep,
And
lots of parkour.
there's a point where she kind of looks like she's lost them, but then she kind of flies around, takes one out, and then takes one captive. And Boba gets chucked in his bath, and I think that's where episode 1 ends. Chapter 1, sorry.
Yep. He jumps in his bath, and that signals the end of the episode, and leads on to the second episode.
Oh, before we get to the second episode, I
Oh,
think I just have to highlight that I do love the music. Same composer, Ludwig Göransson as the Mandalorian, and I really like the kind of it's similar but different. It's got a nice kind of tribal vibe to it.
yeah. The Mandalorian's more kind of Western,
Yeah,
and this one does have I don't know if I think that's maybe some influence from Tamura Morrison, from his like Maori
possibly.
kind of
Yeah,
background.
possibly. Yeah, and I
But yeah,
know that we're both a big fan of the kind of concept art, kind of last five
yeah.
minutes.
I love
It's
the concept art and the credits. I think that's absolutely amazing. What just even what the things they can do is just, and see if the show was like that. Like, see some of the pictures they show. It shows like these epic scenes. I'm thinking that'd be so great to see, but they don't seem to pull it off as well. It's obviously probably because of budgets and stuff like that.
yeah.
But it'd be good if they could pull off these shots. But that's just my personal finicky opinion.
This and the Mandalorian are the two shows where I don't actually mind it coming to the credits because you actually kind of look forward to seeing the credits when you get to them.
Yeah. It's also noting as well that the episodes are quite short.
Well, they
But
vary. I think
that was like the Mandalorian as well.
yeah, two of them have been quite short, and the other two have been a bit longer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we got into episode 2 then.
Yeah, I think I could fairly rattle through the next three. Yeah, so
Let's not rush the podcast already. I'm just having a good time, right? We'll get to where we get to. So episode 2 is predominantly set in the past.
yeah,
From memory. So
that's
it starts off with the kind of assassin that Fennec arrested, and they're kind of interrogating him in Jabba's palace.
yeah, and he doesn't give up any information lightly, and he's very insulting towards the now all powerful Boba sitting on the throne. So they decide to dupe him and throw him in the Rancor pit. They start opening the doors to the Rancor pit, and the hardcore assassin decides to spill all the beans, and it turns out there wasn't a Rancor there at all because it died in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Rest
Which
in
I
peace.
thought was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny, but
It was a total callback when they pull the throne right over the kind of trap door essentially, and you see them kind of looking over. So that was quite a cool callback. I remember feeling a wee bit disappointed that there wasn't a Rancor, but
yeah, because I was like,
for
oh my god, did they have another Rancor? Oh, they got one, and then I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's a rat.
for me the scene works anyway.
Yeah, it gets the plot moving to where it needs to go.
There's not a lot in the present day in this episode, but from memory, they do go to see the mayor, and they actually meet the mayor in this episode.
Yeah, and that's because the assassin says the mayor hired him to kill Boba.
Yeah. So we meet the Major Domo again, who I'm not personally a big fan of the character. The kind of the voice is just a wee bit jarring, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's not I'm not a big fan of his either, to be honest. He seems a bit out of place.
Yeah. And they go in, they meet the mayor. The mayor's using some kind of translation device. He's like
because what species is he?
Well, originally in A New Hope, the character was Hammerhead was the character's name. Remember he was in Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah.
And his Ithorian, there you go, bringing the knowledge. He's an Ithorian.
That's why you're the leader of the ship.
Yes, of course, the supreme leader. So they essentially the mayor's goons take out the assassin, and kind of goes.
They make a kind of
from there.
They make a kind of half-hearted excuse saying that assassination team shouldn't be operating in that space, so they just executed them on the spot and gave Boba money for bringing him in.
Yeah, he got his tribute finally.
Yeah, Boba finally got his tribute. So,
and then we spend the majority of the episode in the past. So we kind of kick off with Boba. He was still technically a prisoner, I suppose, at the start of the second episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see this episode as well before he goes back in time.
Yeah.
Does the mayor not warn him that he should check his affairs are in order back at the sanctuary?
Yeah, I did mention that.
And is that when
this is the episode where we see the Hutts, isn't it?
Yeah, he meets the twins.
Yeah, I knew. I kind of had a feeling there was something with this.
Yeah, so he goes back to the sanctuary, and Garza, who is the owner of the club, basically, tells him, Jennifer Beal. She says that, oh, you haven't heard, like, basically the twins are back. I'm like, oh, who are the twins?
For me, I went right to the Hutts when I heard the twins. I don't know why. I didn't really know there was twin Hutts, but as soon as I heard it, that's where my head went. No,
I didn't have a clue. I was just like, "What? Who are they talking about?" So I thought it was maybe something. I thought it was maybe something we missed from the Clone Wars or something like that. I haven't seen.
There's been a big thing about litters and people making fun of Boba for not arriving in a litter. So it was quite cool when we then saw the Hutt twins come in on the litter. Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Boba wants to rule with respect rather than fear, so he's walking on his own 2 feet through the streets in the muck and the mire, as you can see. Yeah. Funny that we should have that. See, just as we're talking, the Hutts are on the screen right now. Really? So there's another big reveal roundabout when the Hutts come. I don't know if it would have meant as much to you as it did to me, Paul. Absolutely another big character. You must have thought that the character we're talking about looked cool, though. Oh yeah, the costume design was outstanding. So just to get the right name, Black Christantian roundabout. Our viewers / listeners can correct us, I'm sure. So Black just a bit of background on him. I don't have a massive amount of knowledge, but I have read some of the Darth Vader comics in the last year, and he actually partners up with Boba Fett for some bounty hunting missions. So Boba Fett and Black Christantian do know each other, so that adds a bit extra dynamic there. Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was the kind of first time they met. No, well, it seems like they did, unless they've kind of retconned the comic. They definitely do know each other and have worked together. That's interesting. Okay, so we were just about to go back to the past. So thanks for reminding me of that really important bit. So we're in the past. Boba's still a prisoner, and he starts to kind of gain the trust of the Tuscan Raiders. Yeah, but he never explained why the twins were there. Oh, the twins were there because they claim Jabba's old haunt, and basically Boba says, "You need to kill me to get it." Mm-hmm. And they said he needs to sleep lightly, which is a bit foreboding for things to come. That was very well remembered, Paul. Well done.
I'm not just a pretty face.
This will be easier. Obviously, once we're doing an episode at a time, we're trying to kind of cover four episodes. So in the past, Bob has kind of earned a bit of respect by saving the kind of Tuscan Raider youngling. Let's just not hear Anakin. Let us use that phrase. And then he starts to kind of train a bit. There's a kind of character, kind of the warrior that he kind of spars with.
Yeah, there's a warrior Tuscan that's the actual.
Cool.
Yeah, she. He's she. He's really cool. He's really cool. Is she? She's really cool, and it's worth mentioning as well that the Tuscan Raiders in this series are a lot more portrayed a lot more civilized than the ones you see in the mainstream movies. They're not just like savages out hunting and killing and doing whatever they want, kind of thing.
And they do mention that. They mention that there's different tribes. Some of them stuck as warriors, and some of them kind of retreated a wee bit.
Yeah, just go to kill what they want and do what they want, kind of thing. So yeah, this is the kind of tribe that likes to hide and survive. So,
but they've got warriors, as we spoke about in the training. So he starts to go out and kind of missions with kind of scouting missions, and at first you think it's another Krayt Dragon, like in the Mandalorian in the distance. Did you think that as well, Paul, when you saw the train?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was like, "What the hell?" When I seen it, I seen everybody, all the Tuscan Raiders panicking. I was like, "What the hell is that?"
It was a bit weird seeing a train in the desert. It just didn't make sense to me. There was no train tracks. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
I don't know if they're trying to kind of keep up, the kind of Western theme, like a train heist, like they do in the Western.
Don't get me wrong, I liked it, but it was just a bit weird. So the trains zooming past. A few
you need to mention the speeder bikes.
Well, we're not.
Oh, you're not even there yet.
This is the initial. This is the initial
jumping ahead.
So the trains take out some Tuscans, a couple of Banthas, which get pretty heavily. I think this series has really made me love the Banthas though as well. So they get taken out quite easily, and then Boba comes up with a big plan where he wants to go and steal their speeder bikes and then kind of help get revenge on them.
Yeah, he wants to. Yeah, that's right. So he decides to go off with a training gaffy stick and is it a repeater rifle? Is that what they're called?
You're the weapons guy, not me.
God, I can't remember this from Battlefront. It's in Battlefront, but I cannot remember what it's called.
You'll need to revise better for next week's episode.
Sorry, boss. Yeah, so he takes a Tuscan rifle, takes a wee training gaffy stick, and he heads to what we think, judging by some of the stuff we've seen on the internet, is it Tosche Station?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's been confirmed, but it's pretty widely discussed that this is the Tosche Station that Luke references in A New Hope, and I'm assuming it's a recast unless these actors haven't aged. But the couple in the scene are apparently
Paul Rudd's brother and sister.
The couple in the scene are apparently two of Luke's friends from a deleted scene with him and Biggs at Tosche Station.
Yeah,
because they focus on those two characters quite heavily in the episode for just complete randomers. So that was a pretty cool scene where Boba kind of totally wipes out the kind of what race were they again? Is that the Nikto bike gang? Yeah,
there's a Nikto bike gang being terrorizing. It looks like the local moisture farmers getting. I think I read somewhere they were getting taxes, and they spray paint the walls with their symbol. It's like with water because they're getting taxes. So they're terrorizing. They're getting all this protection money, stuff like that, and they're holed up at this Tosche Station. And Boba sees the speeder bikes. He walks in, and he just does what Boba does best and kicks ass. Basically, he takes out, I think, probably about 5 or 6 of them. And
I wasn't counting.
Yeah, I think it's about 5 or 6 of them. Shows off some of his hand-to-hand skills that he's been taught off the Tuscan Raiders. But I felt bad for the poor barman. He's gonna have a hell of a clean up after that.
And he didn't even get left a tip to clean up the mess.
No.
Where's Han Solo when you need him? So Boba steals the speeder bikes. There's a pretty cool scene where he kind of drags them all back to the Tuscan camp, and then there's a scene where he teaches the Tuscan Raiders how to ride the bikes, and it's became quite a big internet meme, I would say.
Yeah, and it's like your favourite catchphrase now.
Like a banta, yes. For me, I don't know. It was funny when they were falling off the bikes and stuff. I just kind of feel it was a wee bit out of tone with the rest of the show.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's hard. I feel like this whole series, I want it to be more gritty and more underworld, but I just feel like it's been too light, and like that montage, like it was funny, and it was entertaining, but I felt totally out of place for me as well. Like it was a good cheap laugh, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I wasn't really impressed with it.
So we've got a few issues maybe with some of the humour in places. So then the Tuscans eventually learn how to ride the bikes, and then they plot to kind of take down the train and get kind of the revenge. And I think we can agree the sequence is really entertaining.
Yeah, the action set piece is actually really well done. It turns out the occupants of the train are from the Pike Syndicate. Is that right?
Yeah, the Pike Syndicate, who
The
are
Pike
in.
Syndicate.
Sure, they're in Solo. They're definitely in Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's the first time I've actually properly seen them. I wasn't sure about them when I first seen them, but yeah, they have quite a good reaction set piece where they basically heist the train, grappling hooks onto the top of the train, and storm the train. The warrior Tuscan just absolutely rips through the train. She goes low, everybody else goes high, and she rips through the train.
Reminded me a bit of like Chewbacca appearing in the AT-ST cockpit when she pops her head up.
Yeah, there's a Pike sticking his head out, trying to snipe them from the top of the train, and she just drags them all down.
I absolutely loved the wee spider droid, the kind of the train conductor that kind of scuttles away. I really liked the design of that character and the kind of just seeing all the kind of machines how it worked. I thought it was really well filmed.
Yeah. I did like this. I really, I'm saying that, I really did like the action sequence, but at the same time, like the first couple of episodes, Boba gets thrown about quite a bit. He doesn't seem
He
doesn't
is a
seem
sick,
to.
he is a sick man. He's needing
Yeah,
the back
he
flip.
is a sick man, but I think on the train he gets like flipped on his back by a wee squid looking pike, and I'm pretty sure the pike's quite a wee bit shorter as well, and he gets flipped on his back, and luckily the train, was it the train or one of the Tuscan Raiders, managed to help him. So
A squid looking pike. That's
things,
a good description.
yeah, a couple of
So
times Boba's been getting his butt kicked, but that's just a personal thing. I mean, I'm just a bit disappointed in that way. I was expecting him to.
I think it's by design, at least for now.
Yeah,
So
I think
then
it could grow stronger.
Boba stops the train. They find out that they're hauling spice. They strike some water, and the Tuscans, as normal, waste it all over the desert. And basically,
celebrating and not enough catching.
not a lot of common sense with the Tuscans.
Yeah.
And
it's also worth noting as well that the train seemed to go on for ages in this sequence, and at the very start, the Tuscans are sniping them from their camp, and then literally as soon as the train crashes, it must be like miles away. 2 seconds later, the Tuscans are there, which I thought was I think anyone watching it would be like, "What just happened? Why are they there so quick?"
You pay a lot more attention to these things than I do. That's why we make a good team. So basically, the Boba forces the Pikes to walk to Anchorhead, is it they walk to?
Anchorhead, yeah, Anchorhead.
Which was a reference to A New Hope. and he makes them walk single file, which is how the Tuscans walk, because that's another quote from A New Hope. And he basically says that they're no longer welcome in the desert, and that if they go through, they'll need to pay the Tuscans essentially to go through.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
that's essentially the end of chapter 2. I think we might as well, as we said at the start, we're new to this, and we were originally going to do a brief overview, then look at our likes and dislikes, and then connections. But I kind of feel like I'm quite enjoying just going through the 4 episodes and talking about what we like and don't like as we go.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that. For me, I feel like that will work better for this episode anyway.
Yeah. I may as well go for it, because our structure is very winging it.
Yeah, but we'll get there. I'm enjoying the conversation. So on to episode 3, which is kind of considered the worst one by the critics. I quite enjoyed it overall. I did have a few issues with the episode, but I also thought it was quite well paced. I thought it moved the story along probably more than some of the other episodes.
Is that because we're in the present time most of the time?
Yeah, because seeing chapter 2, I actually spent the majority of the episode waiting to go back to the present day because I was interested in what was going on, and I think it kind of ruined my enjoyment of the kind of train sequence because I kept wondering when we were going back, and chapter 3 had the opposite problem in that we didn't really go back that much.
Yeah. I get what you mean. I was expecting it the exact same. I was like,
yeah,
I want to see where we're going for this, and it's just like, we're stuck in the past, and we need to find out. Well, you know what I mean.
So
it was a bit frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, actually, we totally missed an important plot point in the chapter 2. At the end, Boba goes on his wee spiritual tour to find his gaffy stick at the tree.
Oh God, yeah. Again, it just felt out of place for me. I didn't really get it. I don't know if it's maybe referencing something else, but I just watched it and I was like, what is going on here? Like, why?
It seems like there was like Jawas in the tree, like Jawa eyes.
Yeah. And I was like, so why do the Tuscans have mind controlling lizards? And why are these things not more important? And where did they go to? Where was this tree? And I just had so many questions, and I still don't know what went on.
Yeah, we'll always have questions about that. So yeah, that was an important thing that we missed. Chapter 3, I'll be honest, I'm struggling a wee bit. Once we get into it, I'll remember exactly where it starts. I think it starts with the water merchant comes to visit.
Yes, and it's when I seen him, I was like, oh my God, it's the guy from Dodgeball.
I've not seen Dodgeball in years.
It's the guy with the specs who has the big idea about the Dodgeball. But anyway, that's a different series and making a different movie.
So he basically
another time.
Yeah, we'll do a Dodgeball review. Boba basically gets told to his face that nobody respects him, and that's becoming, as we said earlier, a wee bit of a recurring theme. So what was his reaction to that?
He said he was going to go into town and fix things, but I think overall Boba's been very nice and very accommodating to everyone, which
it's because he wants to rule with respect.
I know, but I'm just very surprised that he's not. He's just been so accommodating to everybody.
I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things about the timeline, and that he was actually with the Tuscans for about 4 or 5 years. Because there's 5 years between Return of the Jedi and the Mandalorian, and in the present they were kind of up to where the Mandalorian kind of was in season 2. So I think it was maybe about 4 years or so he was there. So things like that could change a man, I suppose.
Well, I'm saddened by this change.
So he goes into the town, and is this where he sees the Power Ranger biker gang?
The Power Ranger biker gang that have been stripped right out of Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah. So the water merchant says that this gang have been stealing water from his store, and they've got these droid modifications on them, which makes
I like
them
that.
even.
I like that, but I wasn't a fan of the bikes, the really colourful like motorbikes essentially. But I like the kind of cybernetic replacements. I thought that was quite an interesting concept. The whole kind of more machine now than man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I quite like that aspect of it.
yeah. And it's not as if we've not seen it before, like Thingy and Bespin. What's his name?
Lobot.
That's the one.
The what a
So
lot
it's
of
probably in
people
a
have been
similar vein
saying.
to that.
Watch a lot of Star Wars YouTubers, and what a lot of people have been saying is that these people, these biker gang Power Rangers, wouldn't seem out of place on Coruscant or Canto Bight, and that if they were there, you wouldn't blink an eye.
Yeah, yeah. But just because it's the desert wastelands of nowhere.
But somebody made a good point somewhere that the Empire's gone. Coruscant's probably fallen into a bit of disrepair, and people are maybe trying different countries, planets for a new start, new
Yeah,
ventures.
maybe.
So it is a bit of a different galaxy than maybe we've seen in the main trilogies.
Yeah, I don't mind that actually. If that's the kind of theory behind it, I don't mind that.
That's
I wonder.
just that's a
Hopefully, that's what they're
theory.
going for, and not just for some stylistic kind of
I
view of it.
usually have I usually have faith that Favreau will kind of pull everything together. So I think once we've seen all 7 episodes, we might have different perspectives on different things.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully.
So getting
So,
back on track, they're stealing water. Boba decides basically that they need some money, so he's going to hire them. So they become, and I thought that
yeah,
was quite exciting that he's kind of building like a wee house, a wee sort of
we
quotation
get
marks family, and they're basically his like protection detail. But they don't do a particularly good job in their first gig, do they?
no, because our main character, instead
Boba
of
Fett
instead of sleeping lightly, he's having a good old sleep in the back to tank
in his bath.
and his bath. Yes, and he gets ripped out of it by, you can say his name,
Nope, it's on to you.
by Black Chewbacca.
Black
Uh,
Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum.
Yep,
Uh,
that's on.
and yeah,
That was
so
cool. I liked that jump scare. I was not expecting him to get pulled out of the back to tank, so that I like that.
yeah, was Boba having a flashback in the back of the tank when that happened, or was that
Oh yes, he had the flashback to when the Tuscans basically got wiped out by the Nikto bike gang.
right? Okay,
So he went back, and that happened. That was the kind of only flashback in this episode. Seeing that, and it was quite. I found. I know you don't have a heart, but I found that it was quite an emotional moment. Seeing the Tuscans that can built up getting taken down.
yeah. Although they kind of went out with a whimper, killed off screen, which I
But
wasn't
we don't
particularly fond of.
know. It doesn't seem to think that they're all gone, so we may see some of the Tuscans again.
Yeah, hope so, because we didn't
Like the,
see the wee youngling that's kind of been his wee
yeah,
pal throughout. He wasn't there. Well, we never seen his body at least. And the warrior Tuscan, you couldn't see them either.
yeah.
Um,
Well, let's jump back. Bob has been pulled out of his bath
yes, his bath by,
by Black Christanton,
yeah,
and the bike gang kind of get involved, and there's a bit of a kerfuffle in the palace.
yeah. There's a wee fight scene between, well, first of all, Boba and I need to say something easier than Black Chrysanthemum.
Right. What about
Black
no, wait, we'll get it.
BK.
BK, right, like PK.
BK.
Okay, I get
BK.
it.
So yeah, there's a fight scene between Boba and BK, and basically I think BK. I'm going to say Black Chrysanthemum. BK sounds awful. Black Chrysanthemum gets the better of Boba. It looks like, because Boba's obviously in his weakened state. He wasn't expecting it, and he.
Imagine you get pulled out your bath by a Wookiee. I don't think you'd be right up for the fight either.
So he's getting the better of him, and then the leader of the Power Ranger Cyberpunk bike gang comes in, stabs him with a wee knife, and then the rest of the gang comes in and circles him. And they have a wee altercation. Black Chrysanthemum seems to get the better of them. They do get a few hits in, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's a bit weird because they're like wee kid. They're not wee kids.
Hmm.
And they're,
BK should have been taking them out. Let's be honest. But,
yeah, I should have taken a few of them out at least. But
but
there's
plot.
like four. There's four of them surrounding him. One of them's got a blaster, and he's about 4 feet away. And you kind of seem to get a clean shot on him somehow. And this Black Chrysanthemum is about 20 feet tall. And yeah, he should have at least murdered, I'd say, three out of the four. But no,
And
it didn't happen.
Fennec ends up getting him into the Rancor lair, and don't know if it's that next scene, but the Hutt twins turn up
Yeah,
to receive BK, who they'd sent to kill Boba, which came out. They basically straight up admitted that they did that. So
yeah. They
that happened.
apologized for trying to kill him.
Yeah. So the Boba essentially agrees to let BK go, and he kind of runs off into the desert. But Boba is given a wee bit of a wee birthday gift, a wee tribute by the twins.
A wee Baba Rancor.
Yep. So we got our wish. Obviously the scene in chapter 2 was obviously a wee bit of a tease ahead of getting this Rancor, which Boba becomes quite fond of. Boba likes his animals in this series.
Yeah, which I thought was a bit weird. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. Boba is like an excited wee boy at Christmas when he gets a puppy. Just like,
Yeah.
who's
Who's a good boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also get a wee cameo from Danny Trejo. He's
Yeah,
the Rancor handler.
I didn't have a clue who he was, but apparently he's very well known. So I've obviously missed
Yeah.
a trick there somewhere.
Yeah, big Hollywood actor, Machete, Predators, all sorts. He's just a
Yeah,
he's just a
you
menace,
can
but he's a
you
good
can bring
actor.
the knowledge from that side.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a big fan of Boba fawning over the Rancor. I feel like his scenes with the animals, yeah, they're building a bit of a theme there that he likes animals, but it just seemed a wee bit like me when I'm talking to my cats.
Yeah, weirdly that reminded me of that too.
Yeah. So Boba, the cool bit about that scene though is Boba basically wants to learn to ride the Rancor. So I think we can safely assume there's going to be a scene where he's walking through Tatooine on the back of a Rancor, and that'll be worth the Disney Plus fee alone, I would say.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. And you also get to hear about the kind of mindset of the Rancors and the training that goes through.
And you find out why the Rancor keeper in Return of the Jedi actually was so sad, because they're actually quite nice
And
creatures.
they have quite a strong bond. And the background, that's my dog.
The Hutts say something interesting just before they go, that there's actually another kind of crime syndicate wanting to take over Tatooine.
Yeah, and it's so serious that they're willing to back off.
Yeah, and we find out that eventually that's the Pike Syndicate that are going to take over. And there is a scene at the end of the episode where you see them all kind of coming off a spaceship, and Boba declares war. But there's a bit in the kind of middle of the episode that we've not touched on. What kind of happens after the Rancor is delivered?
Oh God, my mind's gone blank. What did happen? You tell me.
Well, they go looking for the mayor again, don't they?
Oh yeah.
And the major domo guy basically runs away in like a speeder, and then there's like a kind of speeder chase through the streets, and
Yes,
they go through a painting of Jabba that Boba's actually in. It's actually an original Ralph McQuarrie painting, concept art that they drive through. They kind of take a picture out on the way through.
what waste?
And a wee kind of Easter egg. Do you know how that bit where they go through and there's like loads of fruit they kind of crash through?
Yeah.
Those are quite well known from Rebels. I've forgotten the exact name of it, but they're a plot point in an episode of Rebels. The fruit that they go through.
Oh, okay. I've never seen it, so
I've forgotten what they're called. I'm sure somebody that's listening could probably send us a voice message and tell us about that. So that episode ends. The Major Domo kind of essentially is captive, essentially, and I would say that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, with a very underwhelming chase, I would say.
Yeah. We're gonna get better at remembering the plot points when we're not reviewing 4 episodes in our very first podcast. So please tread lightly so far. So we've got one more episode to go, and then we'll kind of close up for this, and then next week we'll come back for episode 5. So, what was your overall thoughts on yesterday's episode that we both viewed, well, separately?
Yeah, I quite liked it. It was less. Well, did he even go into the past? Did they?
Yes, he did. I think it's all set in the. So every episode's had a kind of slightly different structure. This one's like, I'd say 80% in the present, but it's a different present because it basically lines up alongside bits we've seen from The Mandalorian. And on my TV right now is Chapter 4, so this is how long we've been talking. We've actually went through a whole episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's not quite the half an hour that we thought we were going to be.
Yeah, but we're getting there, and I've enjoyed the process. Yeah. So
I'd imagine if we edited it out and got rid of all the nonsense, it probably would be down to 10 minutes.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be very fun. So this episode is really, it's kind of set alongside the Gunslinger episode from The Mandalorian, where Mando's essentially hunting Fennec Shand. Because you see the kind of flares, don't you, in the desert?
Yeah.
Which is during their fight scene. Yeah,
because Fennec's using a night vision scope or something, isn't it, to try and shoot him off the bike, and he uses flares to disrupt their scope. Yeah.
So we've actually seen quite a lot.
I forgot about it, and then I was like, "What is that?" And then I heard the Mandalorian kind of the theme, kind of slightly pop up, and I was like, "Oh, that's from that." Right. Okay. And that's where Boba comes across a mortally injured Fennec Shand in the desert. And
so that obviously back when that first happened, it was heavily rumored that was Boba Fett that rescued Fennec, and obviously that was confirmed in season 2 of The Mandalorian when we obviously found out that happened. So then he takes her on Bantha back into. I keep getting my Moses confused. Was that Mos Eisley that time?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't actually know.
we'll need to check that. So they takes them to basically like a kind of had like a vibe of like a tattoo parlor, didn't it? But it was for like cybernetic body parts.
First of all, when I was watching it, I was thinking, why is he going to? Because it had like techno music blaring out of it. I was like, why is he taking her to a nightclub? What's going on?
I'll be honest, the first 10 minutes I was a bit worried about that episode. The vibe was weird, as you said, just kind of walking into a club with all the tattoo artists and the multicolored haircuts.
Plus, I'd imagine walking with a bantha, walking with a near-death person on a bantha is not the most urgent way to get someone help.
Yeah.
I was just watching it going, this is the slowest rescue ever.
Yeah. So he manages to he pays quite a bit. Fennec gets replaced. There's a pretty cool scene where you see her getting operated on, and you see like the blood there's like blue blood and then red blood and kind of going into it. And then Fennec wakes up and realizes she's now part cyborg.
Yeah. I'd forgot about that in The Mandalorian too. Her showing that she'd been fixed by the cyber.
I remembered that. I actually did remember that point. I think we should do a Mandalorian rewatch at some point and see the kind of Easter eggs from like retrospective Easter eggs from Book of Boba Fett. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So then basically Fennec's got a wee bit of a life debt, like Chewbacca has to Han and Jar Jar. Oh, sorry, we mentioned Jar Jar to Qui-Gon. And she agrees to go on a mission with him. And Paul, what was Boba's main mission in this episode?
To get his slave one. I mean, not slave one. Fire spray gunship. Sorry, Disney.
No, I've heard a few different parts about this because
Okay.
apparently the fire spray is like the name of the model, whereas Slave One's the name of his ship. And if he'd said Slave One to Fennec, she probably wouldn't have known what he meant because I think it's more like the individual name for his ship rather than the name of the brand of ship, if that makes sense.
No, I thought the ship's name would have been revered across the galaxy.
Yes, possibly. So they want to essentially Bib Fortuna. This is still in the past. So Bib Fortuna is on the throne, and Boba wants to break into the palace to get the ship. That's the kind of main thread for this episode.
His main objectives are getting his ship and getting his armor. He's trying to get his old armory back, basically.
And there's quite an emotional scene. It's actually on my telly right now, where Boba says bye to another one of his animal friends, the Bantha. So I actually felt a wee bit sad in that moment when the Bantha walked away.
I think whoever, if anyone is listening to this podcast, they should just take a shot every time Colin says Bantha.
Like a Bantha, yes. The Bantha's won it for me. So he says bye to the Bantha. They go into the palace, and there's quite a few cool droids that we saw.
Yeah.
That was one of my favourite parts of this episode.
Yeah, but she scans the entire palace with a small wee probe droid that looks like a wee disco ball.
Yeah.
And how no one's seen it is beyond me. But yeah, so they infiltrate the palace through, it looks like a sewer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And she's got quite a nifty wee knife that it kind of makes a sound. Is it the same sound? You know the sound in one of the old school movies when it's like branding the droid's feet. It's the kind of
yeah,
a kind of burning noise. It's the
is
exact
that
same
not
sound.
is that not the droid that's actually the sous chef?
I
But
think so. Yeah.
it's the same model because basically
Yeah.
the white droid, like Boba's like servant droid, gets tortured. That specific droid gets tortured by a droid like the one in this episode. It's not the exact one because that one would have perished on the sail barge. But that's the same kind of model of droid from Return of the Jedi, the kind of torturer droid.
Yeah. So they infiltrate the palace and go through the sewers.
Oh no! We need to mention, unless you're about to mention it, we need to mention the General Grievous droid.
I was getting there.
Oh, sorry.
Were you still in there?
I was scared in case you didn't mention it because I like that bit.
Yeah, so they infiltrate the palace through the sewers, go into the kitchen, and are met by the torturer droid, who's now been repurposed as a sous chef. It looks like.
Yeah.
And
no, it's not the same droid. It's just the same brand of droid.
Not the same model of droid.
The torturer droid was on Jabba's sail barge because it was him that gave R2-D2 his job.
Oh, okay.
So he must have got blown up.
Yeah. So they take that droid out and they take out the next generation of General Grievous, which is a chef with loads of chopping knives and cleavers. And how many arms has he got? About 8 or 6? 6 or 8 arms?
I was really sad that the droid only lasted like a few seconds. I was really hoping that it would. It's actually on my screen right now. I'm getting a wee second window of it.
Yeah, it's very Indiana Jones. He starts getting his knives out, spinning them about, looking very menacing, and then Fennec Shan just goes round behind him and slits his head off with a wee cool knife.
And then there's another droid which I've been told has appeared in previous films and in TV shows. I'm not too familiar with it, so that's maybe one to look at.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen it in something like the Clone Wars or something like that, but
I'm sure someone said it was an Attack of the Clones.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that they have a wee kind of droid hunt for that because it runs about, and they have a wee hunt about the kitchen for it, and which I think it was meant to be a humorous kind of bit as well. But I felt that was a bit out of place and takes you out the moment again. There's quite a few moments in this series where it's like that.
You like Timon, don't you?
Well, you're the positive one. I'm just the down to earth one.
Yeah. So then eventually he gets to his ship. There's a really nice moment, I thought, where Boba's actually got tears in his eyes and he's obviously remembering his dad. And his childhood in the ship, and I really liked that bit.
I didn't even see that, but I must have missed that.
Yeah, he had actual tears in his eyes, and then he takes the ship off. He's not particularly good at flying it out, and Fennec kind of fends off some guards to kind of get them out of there.
Yeah, so Fennec seems to be the real kind of star of the show. Well, not the star of the show, but the star of the episode when it comes to combat-wise. Boba's in the ship trying to fly it out, and he's a bit rusty, and he's scraping it against it's in a kind of like hangar, so he's scraping it against the walls. He kind of gets his blasters to open the doors. Fennec's on the ramp, sniping all Bib Fortuna's guards, and fending off any boarders. And she manages to open the gate by shooting one of the counterweights as well, to open the gate for Boba. So Fennec seems to shine through. And once they get through and they fly out the hangar, Fennec kind of alludes to that's her life debt paid, and Boba's fine with that. He's like, where do you want to go? But she's quite intrigued by his proposition of starting a new kind of dynasty.
Yeah.
So she's wanting to stick around for the ride for a wee bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And Boba tells her that he's going to he needs, what did they say, he had some business to attend to or something like that, or something
Boba's
like
first joyride in his reclaimed car is to totally wipe out all of the Nikto bike gang, which I thought was a really cool scene, and it gave me vibes of a bit infamous and spoilers for Game of Thrones, but Daenerys just taking out King's Landing, or no, maybe not King's Landing. The one where she takes out all the Lannisters on the field with the dragon.
Jeez, you're not just spoiling Star Wars, you're spoiling Game of Thrones as well.
I gave a spoiler thing just there, so yeah, I like that, but
yeah, it does kind of wipe them in one fell swoop, which was pretty cool.
Which is one of his badass moments, I would say. So we've done that. He's got his ship. Is it at that point he goes back to the present?
No,
is there something else?
He goes to the Sarlacc pit.
That's right. He goes to the Sarlacc pit, and then he basically created this podcast by dropping a seismic charge and killing the Sarlacc. So how did you feel about
that? Well, I felt like he wouldn't have had to do it in the first place if he. So they fly the ship with the don't know what a better word, the cockpit facing downwards into the Sarlacc pit, and I don't know if he's hoping to see his armor in. He's hoping to see his armor.
Yeah, he's trying to reclaim his armor because if he's forgotten and he's drunk and hazed that the Jawas stole it off him.
Yeah, when I first seen it, I was like, does he not remember that the Jawas knocked him out and took his armor off? I was like, why are you looking in here? So
he did go through quite a lot.
Yeah,
and maybe he just really wanted to destroy the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, because I feel like this whole sequence was just made to look cool rather than necessary, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he flies. Sorry, I need to go.
No, you go.
So he flies his cockpit right close down to the surface of the Sarlacc pit, and him forgetting it's got tentacles and stuff. Tentacles latch onto the wings of the gunship and basically try to drag it down. The beak comes out. There's a couple of wee kind of jump scares there. And they get a bit of trouble. He kind of get his guns to fire on it because it's hitting the sand. And Fennec manages to release a seismic charge, and it just fortuitously runs off the side of the gunship into the Sarlacc pit rather than just sitting on top.
And Seismic Cinema was born.
Seismic Cinema was born from there, yes.
And there's a disgusting scene where Boba goes back into the Sarlacc pit just with his normal clothes on, and he comes out very kind of disgusting looking.
Yeah, a bit melty again.
And he confirmed like a mixed kind of understanding that his armor is made of Beskar as well, because there was talk that his suit wasn't actual real Beskar like Din Djarin's.
Yeah, it does look a bit flimsier, but I think that's just the way it's just the way it's meant to look, isn't it?
So
But
he's done that. He's realised that his armor's not there, and he basically at that point decides he wants to go take Bib Fortuna out and kind of take over the criminal world of Tatooine.
Yeah. So that's when that kind of preview trailer happens. He takes out Bib Fortuna and takes the throne for himself.
Which was a nice surprise. See, a Mandalorian season finale was amazing, and hopefully we can go back and discuss that one day. But the closing scene that revealed the show and showed that was amazing. Like, that was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So that take us to the end of episode 4 with the meeting.
We need to go back to present day. There's a few things in there just before we close off today. So he has the meeting of all the kind of different factions. There's obviously there's Rodians there, so kind of boss species. I'm sure they've mentioned some of the other species in the episode, but I'll be honest, I don't really know them offhand.
The walruses are there.
Yeah, the walruses are there. So then they're kind of just discussing what they want. They basically say they're not really going to help in the war against the Pikes, but Boba basically makes them agree not to. Basically, they're going to be neutral. But he doesn't really trust them, and he does make a comment about needing some muscle. So this is where the big theory / basically confirmed that Din Djarin might make an appearance next week because of the musical cues in the episode.
Yeah, it just plays his theme just as it's kind of panning out from the palace.
And I think that would, I think Boba Fett really enhanced season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I think Din coming back in would make sense, and I think it could really elevate the show for the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think if he comes back, it could save it for me, because right now I've not been feeling it as much as I feel like I should be.
Yeah, maybe that's a discussion for another time. And the last big bit is back in the sanctuary, and we see Black Chrysanthemum kind of eyeing up some Rodians, and I think we spoke about this yesterday. Paul, do you know why there's a bit of beef there? Oh, did I say Rodians? Sorry. I think I said that earlier as well. I know what a Trandoshan is, yeah. The lizard.
Yeah.
There's a bit of beef between Black Chrysanthemum and the Rodians. Oh, the Rodians, the Trandoshan. Can you remember why that is?
It's because Black Chrysanthemum used to be a gladiator, and basically the slave owners or whatever they were owned the arenas were Trandoshan and probably treated them bad and kept them as a slave, basically. So
that wasn't really the main reason.
Was it not?
The Trandoshans basically hunt Wookiees, as was shown in the first episode, because you mentioned it when we had our pre-meeting last night, that he gave him a Wookiee pellet.
Pelt,
yeah. As soon as I said that, I knew that was wrong. But yeah, so the Trandoshans hunt the Wookiees. So that basically, Chrysanthemum basically just hated all the Trandoshans in the bar. And then he gets in a bit of a confrontation. Jessica Biel tells him to stop, but then something iconic happens, a great way to end our 4-episode review.
He rips his bloody armor.
He does. That's obviously been hinted at from A New Hope. Wookiees pull your arms out your sockets when you lose. And there's a deleted scene, which I don't think you knew about when I mentioned it to you, from The Force Awakens, where Unkar Plutt actually gets his arm ripped out his socket by Chewbacca on Takodana, and it was actually a deleted scene, which would have been great to see. So it was cool to finally see a Wookiee pull an arm out of a socket. But Trandoshan arms regenerate, I've heard.
Oh, so he gets to go back for more fun.
They can regrow their limbs. Oh, and there is a wee bit. Oh, we missed. Oh, we did this in the wrong order. That actually happens before the meeting because Boba hires one more person to his staff, doesn't he, in that episode?
Oh yeah, he hires Black Chrysanthemum.
And he obviously goes to the meeting to be the muscle.
Yeah. God, I can't believe we done that. We done that in the wrong order. We may as well just start the podcast again.
Well, see, to be honest, but Boba Fett, the show, jumps about from different timelines. I think that's essentially what we've just done.
You're right, it's Boba Fett's fault.
Right, I think we've talked long enough for our first podcast, so just finish up. If anyone's listening to this, even if you've just skipped to the end to hear this bit, it'd be great if you could follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you could send us, Anchor app tells us that you can actually send voice messages. So we would love to hear from anyone who's been listening to this. And although we are proper Star Wars sweaties, we will be talking about other movies and TV shows in the future. And we thought we'd just finish off maybe rating the show so far and just a very brief where we think it may be going.
Yeah. Do you want to go first or me?
Right, ranking, are we rating out of 5 or 10?
10.
Out of 10, I'm going to go a 7. I've loved all the callbacks, the action, the scene like Black Chrysanthemum, all the different droids, the constantly going in the bathtub and going back in time, and some of the kind of voice actor choices, not voice actor, but some of the kind of accents used, like just don't fit Tatooine and the bikes, etc. I love so much of it, but it's not. I think 7's probably where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised. I thought you'd be right up there with the 8s and the 9s. So yeah, I was quite
No,
surprised.
the structure put me off a wee bit in the first couple of episodes. I've kind of adjusted to it. My expectations have kind of changed just in terms of how it'd be structured.
Yeah.
In terms of
Where
where
do
it's
you think it's going to go?
I think the last 3 episodes seem to be building up to a kind of war. So it'll be like the Pikes versus Boba, the Power Rangers, his Wookiee pal, and Din Djarin. Din Djarin might bring some Mandalorians with him. We might see Bo-Katan, maybe not actually because they've got a bit of beef. I don't think we'll see Cara Dune. She's had her own troubles. Grief Karga maybe, fresh from me watching Rocky for the first time a few weeks ago. Apollo Creed might make an appearance. I don't really know. I think the Tuscans will come back into it in some way. Is this a limited series? Could this be the end of Boba Fett as a character? Could Fennec betray him? These are just some of the thoughts put out there.
Yeah, it's a quite a tricky one to call. I'm probably going to rate it. I'm probably going to hate myself, but I'm probably going to say about a 5. A 5.
A 5?
A 5.
We just spoke for an hour and 20 minutes and you give it a 5?
To be fair, like an hour of it was me moaning. No, like the costume design, I think absolutely great. Set design, really like it. But this, like you're saying, the story going out in the past, they seem to delve into the past so much.
Do you think a season in the past and a season in the present would have worked better?
I don't know. I liked the Tuscan Raider stuff, but I didn't like it that. There's only so much you can do in the desert, and I feel like you could have done that in maybe 1 episode rather than stringing it through 3 episodes, seeing this progression. But it was just a bit. It kind of bored me a wee bit because I was waiting. I want to know what's happening. I don't want to see.
Do you think this series might be different once we've watched it all?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's just been a slow starter and a slow burner, and it's going to grow on me. But like, I've always been a big kind of fan of Boba Fett. I've dressed up as Halloween because I'm that much of a sado.
I think you binned the costume as well.
I did bin the costume because I got too fat for it.
Just like Boba.
Just like Boba. I've always known him as being like the kind of silent but menacing, but now he's just like a happy, smiley, nice guy that's not menacing.
I feel like Din Djarin doesn't speak that much. We've just had 2 seasons of that. I kind of feel I quite like that they're delving into Boba a bit more and giving him a bit more to him. But
I just feel like it's changing the character, the fundamental of the character that we've all kind of that's why we like them, and now it's just completely different, not what you're expecting, kind of thing. But
I guess
that's just me. That's just me.
I guess that's how life goes. How life goes when you get older.
Yeah. But,
Right, will we wrap up there? That's us reviewed the 4 episodes. We've went on for probably quite a bit longer than we wanted to, but I feel like if we're just doing an episode a week, so next Thursday we're going to do a review of chapter 5 and then 6 and 7, and we'll probably finish off with doing some kind of review. But I think it's time that we sign off. We've debated doing this, but I'm just going to go for it. We've got a wee sound that'd be like just to finish off the episode. So, Paul, you want to say bye just before I deafen everyone's eardrums?
Well, hopefully there's somebody listening to this, and hope you've enjoyed us prattling on for
an hour and 20 minutes.
How long? An
hour and 20 minutes. No, an hour and 10 minutes. I can't tell the time. That's not as bad then.
An hour and 10 minutes. And now it is bedtime. So, yes.
Seismic Cinema out till next week, yeah?
Until next week, hope you all stay safe and well in these trying times. And have a good one, guys.